Hello, I'm Eric Faldy. You're watching the Fargo 3D Printing Show. I'm here with
Marcus Moldashel.
I'll always let you do the last name.
Fair enough.
Last time we talked about the issues with 3D hubs. That was John Schneider and I. He'll pop in from time to time. Maybe Jake will come back. We'll mix it up a little bit. I want to keep it interesting. This week we're talking about a trade show that I went to a couple weeks ago with some of the crew. I think it was Sarah, Todd, Jake, and myself. It's called MD&M. It is medical devices and manufacturing, and that was a Minneapolis edition. So it's always nice to look, if you're in this industry, you can usually get into things for, no, not always, but there are free events out there. Like this was a free event. We just had to get to Minneapolis, which is a 4-hour drive, and we stayed overnight. So, you know, it's a free event. So I think CES is too, if you're an industry person. Otherwise, you kind of have some trouble getting in.
Yeah.
But if you have like an established enough website or like a makerspace, you could probably get into CES. Just have a, not a Gmail, and you'd probably do a little better. But it's just good to know, because this was a show that just kind of popped out of nowhere, and we know people at it. So I mean, there was like NatureWorks was there, so we ended up seeing Dan Sawyer there. So that was nice. And other people that we work with. But we met some people that we didn't know. There was a booth called RP America. I actually don't know what that stands for, but they were really nice, and they were pretty much the first people we stopped and talked to. So if you want to check them out, it is rpsales.us. They also do support. But they had 3 big printers that they were pushing. They are a sales and service bureau. I think they do printing as well. The one printer that they showed me, well, they didn't. I don't remember which printers they had there, but it's the UnionTech line of printers. I have a sheet right here that's all folded up. It's an SLA printer, and the cool thing is that it can take third-party materials. So if you're worried about getting locked into something, this one is not one of those. But it does have some really interesting materials. One that I haven't looked much into, but the one that I'm going to show you something of is called Somos Taurus. And I don't know much about it, but heat tolerance up to 90C, thermoplastic-like performance and feel. And yeah, so there's a small box right here. And
what's in the box?
Yeah, what's in the box? I'll maybe have you hold this up after. Okay. I have a couple shots of it, but
yeah.
So I look, and there's these little things. It's actually broken, but I knew this was broken. I didn't just break it. We have these 2 deer, and I think he said that this was at 40 microns. I'm not thinking that's accurate, but I can't confirm or deny that. So it has some really fine details. It's not really going to show up too well.
No, you can't even see the antlers.
But yeah, we tipped it over.
Antlers in my fingers.
We tipped it over and it broke. Because it was just such a small item there. But that is printed in this material that I was talking about, Somos Taurus.
It's crazy good.
Yeah, I mean, if you look at the bottom finish, it's not so great because there were supports.
Yeah.
Some of them they had little cases, and this one didn't have a case. And he said, hey, just make sure you mention us, and you can go home with this. So
there you go.
Yeah, definitely thank you for sending some stuff back with us. I don't know a whole lot about that machine, but it looked really, really good. And this was printed without supports. At least the feature part. The bottom, I think there was some support material, but
right.
I'm really impressed with that because it's a pretty harsh. I want to say that's like a 15-degree angle, and it looks pretty good. Obviously, these are more industrial printers they're going to talk about today. Yep. So these are mostly, I'd say 99% going to be out of your market, unless you're watching this and have $115,000 sitting around. Right. I don't know how much that one is in particular, but that was an interesting machine, and I think they can do a lot of different materials with that. I don't remember how many, but it's kind of an open-ended machine since it lets in the third-party materials. Another printer that we saw. I don't know if I saw the printer because I just don't remember, but they had a Rize 3D. This is something I've only heard about. This is kind of a light industrial machine. It's about $28,000. At least that's what I saw when I Googled it online.
Right.
This is the kind of printer that you're not going to buy directly from the company. A lot of these are because they just want to push that to a service bureau or a person that does sales, because it's hard to do everything, especially with a high-end machine. Mm-hmm. So
that $28,000, if you Stratasys just came out, well, not just, but their F123 series, the 170, it's a $25,000, but then you got to buy the rinse tank and everything. It comes out to around that $28,000, so it's comparable to your big name entry-level printers, so it's a good price range.
Yeah, and I should say this is an SLA print. You probably figured it wasn't FDM just by looking at it. This is FDM. And it does what they do, which you probably know a whole lot more about since I told you to research it. They have different layers, and they have an inkjet head that will either deposit a support material or a release agent.
Yeah, so they went with kind of like, so like XYZ does their FFF, so they don't call it FDM or whatever, and that kind of stuff.
It's the same
process,
same thing,
except
name.
for, I would say this is more different. So they do APD, augmented polymer deposition. So, I mean, kind of the same thing, polymer, whatever. But so what they do, they'll put down the layer, and then, so if we see here, can I see that? If you look at the bottom here, we have the raft still on. So there's actually two of these like bolt mechanisms. If you guys have a MakerBot, the MakerBot comes with that test print that's bolts. So there's two of them here. But between this raft and the actual bolt part, they put down a layer of what they call release 1. So it's just a release agent that's supposed to have a weaker bond, but a good enough bond yet to still, hold the part there while you're printing. And then if you can see, there's some blue text on here that says Rize. And that they call their marking ink, nothing, just called marking ink, and just puts in color. And from what I've seen,
it's only blue right now.
Yeah, it's only blue right now. But in their videos, and they've done a couple presentations and stuff like that I've watched. They want to go to full CMYK in the future, but right now they just don't have it. And they've talked about other things too, like having an ink that would change the material property to make it more flexible or conductive, so then you could have little traces through and stuff like that. But yeah, so
there is another printer we'll talk about at the end of the podcast that has a very competitive technology.
Yeah.
If you want to check that out, it's rize3d.com. At the same booth, this RP America booth, they also had a printer called the Desktop Metal. Again, I can't remember if the printer was at the booth, but Desktop Metal was also at this trade show. They didn't give me much. Like, I'm usually the kind of person sometimes I won't even want the answer to the question. I just want to ask the question. But I wasn't getting much back. I felt a little bit patronized, to be honest. But I don't know the guy. Maybe I came off a little strong. But Desktop Metal is an FDM style metal printer. I forget exactly what they said it was because they called it something else.
Well, this is where you have to like cure it in an oven.
Yeah, there's a lot of. I don't want to speak wrongly about it, but pretty much it's a metal 3D printer. It's more expensive than the Metal X, which is the Mark Forged 3D printer.
Right.
It's a Mark Forged or Mark Forged. That printer, you know who I'm talking about. This one has the upper hand in that it has a huge variety of materials in development. I'm not sure. I haven't checked in on the Mark Forged camp in a while. So
I mean, just looking at this page here,
it says 30
last
materials
time I looked
in
at Mark
development.
Forge, it was hardly.
They have
I don't even know if there's
a handful
over as many on your.
But
hand.
I'll just read the headers here, and it'll give you an idea. Yeah. Alloy steel, aluminum, carbide, copper, heavy alloy, low expansion, super alloy, stainless steel, magnetics, high performance steel, titanium, tool steel, and other.
Yeah, that's there's a lot.
BASF Catamold. I don't know what that means, but it's something special, fancy. I saw a few parts there. I have videos that I've been not playing for Marcus to look at. This was 3D Systems was there as well.
Yep.
Oh, that's sped up still. Yeah, there were just a lot of moving parts, robot arms, conveyor belts,
right?
Torsion tests. Let's see. Yeah, just really fast.
Pick and place machine.
This was just me getting random shots. This looks like a Stratasys machine.
Yeah, that's a Stratasys F123.
Yeah, this is going to be really boring until I put the graphics in. But
yeah,
you guys are going to be watching these with us. I got just random shots of Stratasys.
Yeah.
Stratasys. That's the PolyJet.
Right. If I would have thought of it, last weekend when I went home, my dad's company had gotten a Stratasys F123, and I got to play around with it and print some stuff off on it. And it's a super cool printer.
What'd you print?
I printed a Marvin.
Okay.
And,
Marvin, the 3D Hubs mascot.
Right. And I left all the support material on it, and it's a dissolvable support material and stuff.
How big was it? You don't really need supports typically, right?
No. The thing is with the software, you cannot take off supports. There's only like different selections. So like in some softwares where they dumb it down to the low density infill, high density infill, that kind of thing. It was the same thing with supports. So we just put it on the lowest amount of support possible, and then print it off at. They don't do microns. They do
inches.
Yeah. So it was at 10,000ths of an inch.
Yeah.
So I don't know what that equates to.
Something like 2.25 millimeters or something.
Yeah.
We looked this up last week and I don't remember.
Right. But no, it's a great print. Looks good and all that stuff.
Yeah, there was definitely a running theme of this was a medical trade show. There were a lot of things like people that just make extrusion, like tubings. I even saw catheters there.
Right.
That was really cool after I picked it up and found out what it was. I knew it was sterile, but still a little eerie.
Fair enough.
But there were a lot of Stratasys machines in particular. The J750, we'll say that. The J750, it's a polyjet machine, really nice. Nice on the price too, for them anyway. But then also the Desktop Metal. There were probably 3 or 4 booths that were resellers or the brand itself. We can just keep going through the videos. That was going well.
There you go.
So we had some really cool shots of the multi-material options with polyjet.
Ooh, it's a brand.
Yeah, you can get flexible stuff. They can pretty much do whatever color you want because they have just stuff that mixes together. Yeah.
Man.
Oh wow, there's some short shots in here. There's a nice shoe.
That's cool.
This was a bionic prosthetic leg for a guy that does a lot of extreme sports. I think this one in particular was for a what do you call it? Snowmobile.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, I was trying to think of the cool word for it.
Was that printed off on Stratasys stuff?
I think so. Yeah, like there were certain.
Yeah.
Oops, I keep hitting the wrong buttons.
It looked like that greenish kind of color plastic.
Yeah, I would assume that they printed. Well, it was a service bureau that did that.
Right.
So they probably mixed a few technologies there.
Things like that. Yeah.
I kind of lost my spot, but Desktop Metal, you can look that up. It's I forget the price on that, but I think it was gonna be $130,000 or in that neighborhood.
Right.
It's not something you can buy just yet. It's something you're gonna have to pre-order right now.
Yeah.
But we're gonna see a lot more of those guys. We'll try to get an interview with them at some point. I think we're going to. I don't remember which trade show it is in Fort Worth, but we're going to another trade show in maybe April, and we'll probably see them again. Last one that I saw at that first booth that we really liked, RP America, was they work with a group called RePliForm. It is a electroplating group, and they will take a 3D print like FDM or otherwise, and they will electroplate it. They have some videos. They've done chainmail, which I'm not exactly sure how they would have managed that, but they figured it out. So I'm very confident that they could do electroplating on most things that you'd need electroplated anyway. So
did they say what the benefits of electroplating was? Or
they have testimonials, they have finishes.
Who knows? Maybe
nickel finish, semi-bright.
Looks
buffed,
really good though.
Brushed, polished. Yeah, I mean, it's probably more for prototyping.
Right.
The guy did let me stand on a part that was printed off. So let me see. I'll see if I can find a shot of this.
Was it purposely made to be able to stand on?
It was just more like, hey, look, you can stand on it.
Fair enough.
Yeah, not really a functional reason.
Oh,
I think I had this open already.
Oh, was it that like engine block looking thing?
Nope.
Yeah, and they had plated some
there
of
we
those
go. So this is electroplated.
lattice cubes.
Those lattice cubes were actually off of a 3D Systems metal printer.
Oh no, that was ones that you said they polished or whatever.
Yeah. So this is electroplated. Okay. He stood on it. He said, "Hey, stand on it." And I was like almost uncomfortable. I was like, I'll stand on it," and it didn't break.
How big is that?
That was probably about 2 inches tall.
Oh, it's not crazy big.
No, but still,
no,
I mean, it might have broken if it was an FDM print.
Oh, right.
It would not have stood up great standing on it, but.
Yep.
They had a bunch of stuff at the table. I'll just kind of throw these pictures up, like the lattice infill cow, the bells showing different infills. This is a Desktop Metal print
cool.
that they milled on the outside or lathed on the outside. It was very rough. They needed to buff it a little bit. But the supports on the Desktop Metal look like they come off really easily, which is surprising.
Right.
And this I believe was a brass.
Cool.
Yeah, and there's the machine there.
Looks really cool.
Yeah, this is going to be, sorry, this podcast is all over the place, but this trade show is, we went back and forth and ran around. I have a bunch of stuff I want to talk about today.
Yeah.
Pretty much we ran around, saw a lot of the same printers over and over. I'm going to just skim through my videos here, see if I miss anything. So we had this laser from another group, and I have the name right here. It was Productivity Incorporated. So you can find them at productivity.com. How did they get that? They actually have productivity.com. So if you want to look that up, very easy to find. They had a couple things at their booth, but the one that I was interested in was this really expensive laser. It is it's called FOBA, the FOBA laser M2000. That was the particular model that I saw. So they use a mixture of either UV or fiber lasers, which I don't know much about. We have a CO2 laser here.
It's a CO2
So it's a very different sort of thing. This one can anodize metal, which is pretty insane, and they do a bunch of different colors. It has a lot of options. It has machine learning, so it'll look at this part, and then if it doesn't see its register marks, it'll say, hey, one out of your 100 parts was misaligned. Go look at it. We're not printing on that one. So it's really good for medical stuff.
Right, and in industrial application, if people are putting these parts into a machine.
Yes, you can see it here. It's just
it looks
doing its laser marking. And then I have a little shot here. You can see the different colors.
Wow,
which
that is really
was pretty fantastic. And it can. I can't remember the layer. Well, not the layer. It's a really small type that it can manage. So it's really good for serial stuff. So if you have if you need, it can be used in house or from a medical. Use.
UR10 there.
I don't know. There were a million robot arms at this trade show, but
I think that's one of those ones that they have people can work with these. Because they'll stop whenever they get an outside force applied to them.
I think this one actually had like a laser inside of that that bowl or something. But we're getting distracted. Yeah. But pretty much, if you want to look that up, it's FOBALASER.com. And you can actually do, I think I had pictures, you can mark 3D printed parts, which was pretty fantastic. Something happens called foaming, because you can see it's raised a little bit, because I saw that immediately, and then Jake came over and said the same exact thing, so we were both like, what's going on here? It's a two-color print? Like, oh no, it's marked, and then when it gets heated up enough, it kind of bubbles and
burns.
Yeah, so the colors on these are not calibrated, but they said that you could change the frequencies for that too. And there's Dan Sawyer. Okay, so one more cool thing that I saw was the Faro. I don't even know what you call that. It's a scanner.
Oh, the Faro roaming arm?
Faro, is it Faro?
Yeah.
Yeah, so we saw a few of those.
Yep. Those are used a lot for making sure parts are in spec and stuff like that.
Yeah, so it has two purposes. You can use it either for scanning, like the initial scan, or you can use it afterwards for comparing.
Right.
Making sure, like, okay, this...
Right. My dad's work uses one of those, and they just have a touch probe, so they have different points on their parts. They make blow molded parts. So they'll compare it to like the CAD model, and they'll just touch off and say, oh yeah, this is 12 inches away, and we had a tolerance of plus minus whatever. So then they can see if their parts that are coming off the assembly line are within spec.
Yeah, so they had two booths, and I was very curious as to why. And I kind of figured why, but I figured they'd just tell me because they're there for a reason. One of them was for reverse engineering. That's the first guy I talked to. I have some shots of him. The second one was the... like you said, the quality control, or like afterwards comparing the CAD model to something, or you can check degradation over time if it's a wearing part, like, oh, it wore down 0.3 millimeters.
Right.
And we didn't expect that. I got a free beer at the event. That was fantastic.
There you go.
I want to say it was Surly, but I don't remember. They had polishers and stuff, or like deburring tools. There's it in action.
Cool.
Yep. I'm trying to think if there was really much else. I'm going to keep skimming through the videos, but I think... I'm not going to say what this was. More robot arms. Proto Labs. I actually got a tumbler from them. I was going to grab it and I forgot. But let's see, what's that? More 3D printed stuff. Oh, this was a flexible. This was at Proto Labs, I think.
A brush.
Yeah, so if you don't know about Proto Labs, they do really rapid prototyping. So if you needed, say, some quick injection molding done, the price is... it's going to be a prime price because it's quick, but they do a good job. They do milling and 3D printing as well.
Yeah, when you're in a pinch, you're in a pinch. So
yeah, here's some more 3D Systems stuff. So 3D Systems had a booth, and so did Lolspot. Nothing brand new there. I just, I always like to kind of pick and prod and see what's going on. Nothing. Okay. Oh, I forgot. 3D Systems. Formlabs was there.
Okay.
Yeah, and they had they didn't have a fuse, but they had the fuse parts. So from the Fuse 1, is it the Fuse 1?
Yeah, Fuse 1, yep.
They had some parts printed. So we had the Crab, which was one of their promotional things. We also had kind of a chainmail sort of thing. And they also had the bike pedal, which is
Right.
really standard.
Did they have one of their cells there?
Did they have the what?
The cell, the form cell. with
No,
all the form
they
twos
didn't have a huge table. It was about the size of this table.
That would have been cool to see.
Something I'll plug for the next podcast. We're going to talk about food safety and sanitary and the difference.
Yeah.
So I talked to the materials guy. I don't remember his name off the top of my head, but I think he has my card. I might have his. But I was working on a cookie cutter project using FDM, and then I'm also doing it in high temp SLA. So we're going to do a little bit of, I don't know, pretty much I'm going to see what happens if I can sterilize this high temp part properly.
Right.
I think that's more or less all I had. Let me look quick. Yeah. So I think we talked about this off camera, but this was the badge. I don't know if you want to hold that up.
Yeah.
It's a free event, I understand, but the badge was a little lackluster. Someone's broke actually while I was talking to them, like this little pinchy part.
Got excited.
Yeah. I don't know. Probably just
Fair enough.
some mixture of fidgeting and poor craftsmanship.
Right.
So we talked earlier about the Rize 3D printer and its technologies. I've heard this. This is only hearsay. I saw a post in a Google group saying that there was a cease and desist or something to that effect between Rize 3D toward XYZ or DaVinci.
Right. For
So
their DaVinci color.
the DaVinci color, because it uses a very similar process. It does more colors at the moment.
So, to that effect, what I've heard from doing some researching and reading and stuff, and mind you, I'm not 100% on this, but from what I can understand, the XYZ puts the coloring on after it prints the layer, and the Rize does it while the layer is going.
Oh.
Because in the Rize's presentation, they keep saying it's like injected in during printing. So to me, that doesn't sound like an afterwards of coloring over.
So it would do it while it was still kind of a wet layer?
Yeah, I really don't know.
Okay.
I mean, they didn't have crazy, but just by the wording, I mean, it kind of sounded like it happened while the bead of plastic was coming out of the extruder or something.
It could be one of those issues where it's
extent.
a very similar technology, but there's like some slight little iteration.
And the people that work at Rize have, like, I think in one of their things they said like 20 different 3D printing patents, the people there combined. So they're really smart guys and girls that are working on that. So the team, I'm sure, has come up with some great stuff. But yeah, I don't know. As to the effect of it's the same thing as XYZ, who knows? I mean, XYZ does.
I suppose if it is true, we'll find out soon enough. If we never hear about it again, then either it didn't exist or it got thrown out.
Right.
Or maybe, I don't know. It's hard to say. At this point, I would assume that XYZ has a little bit more funding. They sell a lot of printers.
Yeah, they're pretty big.
Yeah. So it's hard to say, but I don't know. It's always nice seeing competition. So.
Yeah, it'll definitely be good.
What else did you learn about the DaVinci color?
Right. So, DaVinci color, this is something that maybe some of you guys I watch would actually be able to afford and get. Listed for around $3,500, $3,500. Get a build area of 7.9 by 7.9 by 5.9. Not the biggest build area, but you get a print in full color. So that's worth it. And as for the full color, it's set on one of their things, 16 million shades of color, if that makes sense. I mean, it's CMYK, so I guess
you get a pretty good
mix in different little bit of stuff.
You're not going to get the Mona Lisa, but you'll like recognize it as the Mona Lisa. It just won't look like it. Perfect.
Yeah. And then, it's pretty much standard for 2017. Most printers have to have auto bed leveling and auto calibration, so glad to see that was on there, and they didn't skimp out on that.
It will be a proprietary filament.
Yep, and to that note, they sell 600 gram spools for $35. Calibrate that into kilograms, that's $58 per kilogram. So not the cheapest filament, but then again, if it allows you to print in full color, that's something that nobody else can really do.
Not with FDM at the moment.
For the price point even. I mean, it's pretty ridiculous for the price point. And then the colorant comes in 40 milliliter bottles for $65 US, which I don't know how much colorant you go through while printing.
Yeah, that's something we'd have to find out later.
Right. But
it's pretty much like a 2D print head that just goes over after each layer or wherever it needs to go.
So
it's just looking at the pictures. It says it's water resistant too, but what I've been seeing, it kind of looks like how a CJP print will look, kind of that waxy look.
Yeah,
it's gonna have a better surface finish than a CJP print, but it's gonna have that kind of, I don't know how to explain it. It looks like it kind of got sun baked, like the old VHSs in the movie store window. Yeah, the video rental place.
Yeah, the coolest print I've seen off there is that mask that they always show.
The Day of the Dead, or the kind of Cirque du Soleil looking thing.
Yeah.
Carnival.
Yeah, I thought it was super funny. They had one commercial where they showed two guys were like trying to get this one girl or something like that, and one guy goes to like a monoprice i3 or whatever the monoprice V2
Select,
Maker Select, whatever, one of those kind of printers like Wanhao duplicators, whatever, prints off just a clear white one. Then the other guy rolls up with his XYZ color and gets the girl. It's like, wow, that's
it wasn't commercial. It wasn't well received.
Like, that's interesting.
The comments were.
I just thought it was
it was.
It has nothing to do with the printer. I mean, it's color,
really well shot print, really well shot video. But they might, not like we put out the greatest content all the time, but we're not scripting it most of the time.
Yeah, I thought it was just a funny video.
It was an entertaining video. It didn't. I like their other videos afterwards better.
Right. I mean, and I think with the 3D printing community, I think we care more about the specs than like other advertisements want to show like the lifestyle behind a product. I think in 3D printing world, I think the advertiser or people want to see
quick.
Like, oh, we can print at 50 microns compared to everybody else. We can print this much faster and all that stuff. But yeah, I don't know. Yeah, speaking of 50 microns, another thing I wanted to mention with the Rize, I thought it was super interesting. They were comparing it to like all these other Stratasys and big name printers and saying how much faster they print. I think I figured out why, and they said that they print at 0.25 millimeter layer heights.
Okay.
And I don't know if that's adjustable or what, but that's not, I mean, your standard 0.2. I mean, like I was saying that F123 that I was using, I don't know what that came out to. I think it did come out to somewhere around that. It would
be around there, yeah.
2.5. So I'm not sure if that's something to contribute why they print faster, because they don't print at like 0.15.
So it's not a direct comparison, you're saying?
Right. I mean, you can say I could throw on a 1 millimeter nozzle onto any kit printer and print 10 times faster than them.
Yeah, it's not going to look great.
Right, but I mean, so I just thought that was kind of interesting when they had said that they print faster than every other competition, and then they continued to say they print at 0.25 millimeter layer height. I was like, okay, yeah. I mean, depending upon what size your part is, 0.25 could be too big, could be just fine. I mean, it's whatever.
Okay.
I just thought it was interesting.
That is an interesting thing to note.
Right.
You want to pop that off of there? I left this on here just for this reason.
All right, here we go. Uh-oh.
Uh-oh. Not coming off that easy?
Oh, no.
Uh-oh.
All right.
Okay, well.
We're committed at this point.
Yeah, the guy said it was going to come off really easy, but this hasn't. It might be better to get it off right away. This might have been sitting for a while.
Yeah.
I'll give him the benefit of the doubt.
We'll do that, yeah, because this is...
We'll have to get the side cutters on that. Oh, there's a logo on the bottom. Look at that.
Man.
Okay. Well, that was a great way to end the podcast. Thank you for watching this week. Make sure you stick around. I know we're going to talk about cookie cutters next time. I don't know what a cookie is, but
whatever.
We'll find out. All right. Subscribe. We're on Facebook. We're on Instagram. I don't know much about the other stuff, but those are the ones I watch. So see you next time.
See you guys.
I'll talk first about this horrible badge. It was disappointing.
It was paper or what?
Yeah. I was like, man.
Oh, come on.
I know I'm spoiled, but like this is a very it's a free show, but everything here is really expensive, and this is our badge. Like I saw someone's badge break, but I'll save it for the podcast.